Earth to Rick the Dawn. We need you.
I just saw Superman, and what do I think? I'm glad I went to go see it. I am way behind everybody. I kind of was tossing back and forth on whether or not I wanted to see it in the theater or just wait for it to pop up on Hulu, Netflix, something like that. That was my decision. And then, this morning it just wasn't nothing happening. So I said, you know what? Let's go check out Superman in the theaters. All right. But some questions I have to get answered. So this is therapeutic, so I can figure out how I feel about this film. Was it better than Sinners? That's a good question. Was it better than Sinners for me? I'm gonna say no. It wasn't better than Sinners, but we definitely can tell that it was more expensive to make than Sinners. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it was for me. That almost defines my entire experience. It was like, wow, how far we've come with cinematography and what we can do with digital technology and CGI and all that kind of stuff. So it was that, but then there was the movie, right? And the movie was okay. But was it better than Sinners? I would say no. It felt like, Sinners, the way that it was shot, it just felt different. It pulled you in and it felt real. And that could be why Sinners appeals more to me because it just felt more real. Like when you're watching this film and you're trying to get into this world, it doesn't make a lot of sense because you see people reacting so casually to these things that if were really happening, I don't know I would act that casual. Um Perhaps it's just that universe of people is used to seeing this stuff, so you know but still, it was just casual reactions that were a little like hard to understand in terms of immersion. So I was like, I can't I know I'm watching a movie. I'm gonna watch a movie. But with Sinners, you almost became like a part of the movie. And so I'm gonna have to say no, it was not better than Sinners. But way more expensive. Because look, okay, all right. Now, I've been hearing a lot of talk about the Superman guy, the guy that plays Superman. And they're comparing him to Christopher Reeves. Cool guy. I did see a couple of his interviews. He was pretty cool, really, really down to earth, stuff like that. I think it was what Jimmy Kimmel or somebody that was interviewing him. I forget who it was, but he seemed like a cool guy. When I watched it, I I don't know. I felt that he did the best that he could, but something was off, bro. Something was off. And he might even say that because he said the first time he saw the film, he was nitpicking, right? And if you create media, then you know exactly what that feels like. If you create music, if you're creating content, for audience consumption, you're going to be a little self-conscious. So even he might have seen it. So like for me, it just something was missing. Something was missing. Um, Was he better than Henry Cavill? That's a good question. I would say yes. I would say yes. Is he better than Christopher Reeves? I would say no. All right, I would say no. I think I heard some people saying this was their favorite Superman, and to me, it's to each his own. For me, though, no, I don't think he's better than the Christopher Reeves Superman. Now, the next thing I was like really trying to figure out was this whole James Gunn thing. A name like James Gunn is a great name. It just sounds magnetic, especially when you conjoin it or align it with Superman. All right, Superman and James Gunn. That's a great combination if you're trying to get clicks and listens, right? So, but anyway, I heard a lot of talk about James Gunn and how he has kind of changed things and his interpretation of Superman. So the question is, did I agree with that? Did I think that what James Gunn brings to Superman was magnetic and transformative? I would say not yet. Okay? I would say not yet. I would say that he's on the right trajectory. I would say that this film has several things going for it, that it can branch out into more media. That's what I would say. I would say that this film has so many things that can create, for other things. And boy, are they milking this moment. Man, there was so much Superman stuff everywhere within the movie theater. I'm not even talking about just in like the movie room or the theater room. I mean, the entire theater was decked out in Superman stuff. Okay, they had a super dog, crypto dog. I'm like, it's stuff everywhere. So that's what this is all about. This is all about merchandising. That's what it is at its core. So liking a movie, not liking a movie, that comes second to did it make money? That's what it was. And did I like James Gunn's interpretation of Superman? It's on its way. I think that this was a good start, and it needs to be refined. It was kind of clunky. It was a little clunky, and the CGI was that good? Nah, it wasn't. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people will avoid that point right there. A lot of people will say, "Oh, you just cannot say anything negative about a Superman movie. You just can't." It's like a thing for some people, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it, and I'm not gonna apologize about it. The CGI in the movie was not good. It wasn't good. It was not good. All right, I know good CGI when I see it. I know what it looks like. I'll tell you, like whoever did Titanic, the movie, like that's good CGI. Did they use CGI in Titanic? Because goodness gracious, like you want to know? Oh yeah, okay, but okay. What would happen if James Cameron got a chance to produce? Oh, I'm gonna say direct. What if James Cameron had the opportunity to direct a Superman movie? You know how great that movie would be. Like, do you have any? I really wish James Cameron would take a break from the Avatar series, or I hope that that whole thing is coming to a close so that he can do something like a Superman. But okay, what do I think about the Avatar CGI, the movie Avatar, the latest one? Beautiful. That's what I think. You saw it when you put on the 3D glasses, and it's just the most beautiful thing ever. And even if you watch it in standard mode, most beautiful ever, right? So that's what it is for me. Okay. To me, I'm doing this. I'm doing James Gunn versus James Cameron. That's what it is for me when it comes to CGI. So that's the standard. That's the standard. James Cameron set the standard as it relates to fake stuff being on screen to trick your eye. And this falls short. It falls short. It doesn't do it falls short. It definitely does. But that does not mean that it's bad. It's not bad. But I'm not a kid, you know what I'm saying? So I can see it. If I was a child, I wouldn't care two licks about it. So I think for sure, all right, maybe this is something that I probably should have led with. It is amazing for kids, with the exception of some of the language. All right, I don't like that. Like, if it's for kids, keep the language out. But that's not their fault. It's the parents that have to make that decision, and it's the parents' responsibility to look at the ratings and make the decision to bring their kids to that. I'm just glad I didn't fall into the trap of, oh, it's a Superman movie, man. I'm gonna bring my son. I don't like my son hearing profanity at all. So, that would have irritated me a little bit. Now, that's not to say he doesn't hear it ever at all. I'm just saying I don't want him to hear it in my presence when he's with me, because that's my job to protect him. All right, but the point is, some of the language was a little suggestive. If you're bringing, I'm talking about like 6 and under kids into the theater, you might want to be careful. All right. Okay. So yeah, I mean the CGI wasn't the best for me. I did like it though. Really cool. What was the best moments of the movie? The best moments of the movie was you know what I'm gonna say, right? I'm gonna say the black guy. Wasn't he the best part of the movie? Come on. Be realistic. Wasn't the black guy the best part of the movie? Like, come on. He was the best part of the freaking movie. And yeah, he was the best. He was the best part. He just was different. And he just had this charisma that I thought was pretty magnetic. I think everybody likes the black guy, the black character. Even if you don't know his name, Mr. Terrific, right? Isn't that his name? So I can tell he left a mark on me because I've never seen this character before, and all of a sudden he's like like the one thing I can latch on to in a Superman movie. Like, are you kidding me? So no, he was cool. He was cool. Look, I'm not saying that even though I don't believe that this version of Superman does not eclipse the Christopher Reeve's version, I still liked him though. He was cool. He was cool. But I'm gonna tell you why I just can't. I couldn't really wrap my arms around this whole version. It was because he just seemed so weak, man. I think that's what it was. Like, I just was not accustomed to Superman looking so weak. He looked so weak. That's what happened. He looked so weak. So that's why it was so tough. You cannot, I don't, look, you cannot tell me you're a fan of the comic book version of Superman and you're completely okay with what you just saw on that screen. You couldn't tell me that. I wouldn't believe it. If you're a fan of the comic book version of Superman, you cannot, I don't know if I would believe you if you told me that this version of Superman absolutely checked all your boxes. He just was so vulnerable. He was so weak. And if it were not for certain characters, he would have probably died. Like, come on, man. Like, Superman dying that many times in one film, or at least like being on his back. Superman in this movie was on his back. Superman was on his back. Like, all movie. I feel like we could have, brought a bed out and just like, hey, man, take this little air mattress with you because you're going to be on your back and on your side a lot. You know what I mean? And I think that's why it was so difficult for me to completely wrap my arms around the version of this movie here. But that's not to say that if he was like all powerful and all that, that would have also been boring. So perhaps they took the better road for what it's worth. All right, what else? Questions? Oh my gosh. Okay, we got to talk about the dog. Crypto. I heard a lot of talk about Crypto. I figured that he was this cute little dog that was so adorable. And this is how a movie about Superman became such a big deal as it relates to Crypto the dog. So what did I think about the dog? Completely annoying, man. Completely annoying in the best way possible. If you can try to figure that out for me. Crypto was completely annoying. Completely, by the way. But in the best way possible. And what they were trying to capture was how your dog can be that exact sentiment. Like, your dog is completely adorable, or your cat, or your pet, or your guinea pig, whatever you got, completely adorable. But in the worst way possible, because look, they're excited, they're animals, so all the bets are off, especially as it relates to a dog. But I'm like, goodness gracious, like. What was difficult for me to really grasp when it came to this Crypto dog is that this dog had to be like deaf, because the dog didn't listen, didn't take any commands, didn't adhere to anybody's presence verbally. So it was just hard for me to, because even the worst dogs, if they have their owner nearby, their owner can control whatever that dog puts forth, okay? But Superman had no power over this freaking dog. Like, it was crazy. And the times that the dog did intervene on Superman's behalf, it was like that 1 out of 10 times that the dog actually listens. So I didn't like the dog. And again, it goes back to the CGI as well. All right, but it was ambitious. So you have to give them space to, make growth and stuff like that. It was ambitious to have a full dog in the movie in like thousands of scenes and basically try to communicate that in such a realistic way that the audience will just not notice, right? Of course you noticed if you are an adult and you know how to spot that kind of stuff. But even so, it was still ambitious, and you got to give them credit for that. So shout out to the digital team. This was good. But it reminded me of like going to see Ghostbusters back in the 90s. and then you see the little green monster. What's his name? Hector or something like that. And you saw that, like, they did a good job. I can tell that that's pretty quality. But I can clearly also tell that that is not, that little green thing is not real, not something that's real. So that's kind of what the dog was for me. Like, great job. God, you didn't almost get me, actually. That's what it was for me. All right. And I did like another thing that apparently the Superwoman movie is coming out because they introduced her in this film. And it turns out that Crypto, the dog, is the dog of Superwoman. And she comes to get her dog at the end of the movie, which I thought was irritating in the best way possible. All right, I'm not hating. Because it's like, yo, you got Superwoman on your team and she could have been here helping you through all this, because I'm telling you, like, you can't tell me that Superman almost got knocked off a couple times in this movie. So, like, are you saying that there's no real danger for Superman because his cousin didn't even come and try to save him from out of these situations, right? So, for her to pop up at the end of the film, like, hey, what's going on? I'm here to pick up my dog, and she kind of drunk. Like, was Superman ever really in trouble? Because, I don't know. It always felt like he was. I'll tell you that. Oh, all right. But maybe some people would say that the best part of this movie hasn't even been said yet in this video. They would probably say that Lex Luthor was the best part of the movie. And you know what? I wouldn't disagree. It's been a long time since a villain in a movie felt heavy. It's been a while. And he felt like he could actually pack a punch. So I want to say they did a good job with Lex Luthor. Okay? I'm not a big fan of the actor who plays Lex Luthor. But who cares when he can act that well? Like, everybody has their preference of actor and actress or whatever. But yeah, he's not visually my preference for that character. However, his acting was spectacular. Okay? Without question, he's better than the other Lex Luthor. What's that funny kid? You know who's that? I called him kid, but he's probably like 57. You know who I'm talking about. The guy who played Mark Zuckerberg in social media, him. That version of Lex Luthor. I don't even remember him. I know I saw that version of Lex Luthor, but his performance was kind of goofy, so I just kind of like flushed it as quick as possible. But man, let me tell you something. This Lex Luthor has some teeth. Okay, he's very dangerous. It made me wonder how stupid this world must be to not see that he's completely crazy. It's like they kind of fell for the whole Superman is the evil guy thing, right? And he's pointing, and it's like, yo, at what point will everybody in this world be able to see what we're seeing? Because it wouldn't have taken me 5 seconds to realize that this person was a maniac. What's the word? Maniacal, crazy, narcissistic, all those little crazy words. It would have taken me 2 seconds to figure that out. But the entire movie, I'm sorry, I bit my tongue. But the entire time, the people in that world are simply just like, oh, you know what? He says Superman is bad. He must be bad. And then at the end, it's like, oh, you think Lex Luthor was, just going after. It was just a storyline that really caused you to have to dumb down your intelligence a little bit. And yeah, that sucks sometimes. Because when it comes to superhero movies, I guess that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, for crying out loud, you have people flying around. Like, that's not something that's plausible. So you have to like already know that when you're going into this kind of film, it's going to be a little, whimsical. But man, let me tell you. But no, so Lex Luthor was cool. He was really, really maniacal. The actor did an amazing job with communicating that character. All right. But here's the thing. And you can disagree. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing. But not one time did I feel like he was ever going to be successful. Does that make sense? Like, I never felt like this plan he had cooked up was ever going to work. Now, I know how to follow the cues. I'm like, okay, he's going to beat the crap out of Superman. Trust me, he's going to have him on his back on his side a lot. He's going to put him in danger a lot. But there's no real mystique here. There's no real believability that he's going to succeed in this mission. Which is why The next movie that involves Superman should include this one character. All right? Just one character. You include this character, then you can probably pull off some of the stuff that you think you're trying to pull off now. Doomsday. We know that Doomsday is one of the few characters to ever actually kill Superman, right? We know that. So bring him in. The next movie should be about Doomsday. I do appreciate that about this movie. They didn't take us through the whole origin story all over again. Thank you so much, James Gunn, for that part. All right, we didn't need to see Kal-El in his little diaper, and placed in a spaceship, and he's wheezing past the star. Thank you. And then and then he's getting raised by his granddaddy, and uncle, and my auntie. Thank you so much for not putting that in the movie. Thank you so much. But now they need to press fast forward and just go to Doomsday already. Okay? Go to Doomsday. That's what y'all need. If you want to know what my number is in terms of what I would rate Superman, head over to wordy.com, and that's where I will put my numerical score if you need that. All right? But until next time, be safe.